Welcome to Sneakers and Strategies, the podcast where high-level marketing throws on a fresh pair of kicks and hits the streets. Host Nick Kastner will help you find practical, actionable marketing insights that move with you. In Season 3, Nick's switching gears and going all in on Agile marketing. If you're still clinging to rigid plans and red tape, this season's your wake-up call. It's time to move fast, break patterns, and actually get done.
All right, welcome back to Sneakers and Strategies, the podcast where we don't just talk marketing theory, we lace it up and run it into practice. I'm Nick, and I'm behind. We were on pace for an episode a week for a few months, and then life happened. So since our last episode, I got Agile again, and here's what's been happening. So I'm at Forum. We finished and published a white paper on what's going on with AI search and brands. I taught high brass at marching band camp for my daughter's high school and have been at nearly every practice to prep for the season to help. Sometimes late, like really late, but I'm there. And we've been really blessed at Forum with a lot of new opportunities. So that's all good. So none of that is bad, but all things that took precedent over this podcast. So as we get more listeners, then it entices me to do more episodes. And so we actually did really well kind of coming out of the gate with the Agile series, and it sort of died down. And then the last episode all of a sudden got a bunch of listeners again. So remember, agility, it's really all about focusing on the things that are important in the moment, and that's what I've been doing. So when we're talking about sprints, that's really what it's about. Sometimes we have to shift gears and do the things that are more important to come back and do the other things later. So speaking of that, next Tuesday will be September 30th, 2025 at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We at Forum are hosting a webinar on AI search and brand, based around the findings from our white paper. And you are welcome to attend. It's free. The link for the event is in the description for this episode, so feel free to register. And again, it's free, so please join us. All right. Today's principle, we're moving on to principle 6, might be the one that makes or breaks your ability to actually work with agility. And that is organizing in small, cross-functional teams where possible. So what does that mean? We are not about building marketing empires. We're about building functional squads and teams. Now, it's possible to be agile by yourself, but that's hard. It's really, really hard. To do agile right, you actually need a minimum of 5 individuals for a true agile team. More than that, more than 9 people, you're not agile, you're a machine. Fewer than 5, and someone is going to be overwhelmed. So let's start by getting into why smaller cross-functional teams aren't just nice to have, they're really the engine that make all this discussion around agile marketing real. So we all know that bigger teams tend to work slower. That means with big teams, that means more meetings, more approvals, more confusion over who's responsible for what. By the time a decision finally bubbles up and back down the hierarchy and is filtered through everyone, your audience has already moved on. Big teams can slow you down and prevent you from actually being agile. But big teams managed correctly can be just as agile. And really it comes down to how the team is managed. So agile marketing says speed matters more than size, right? We've talked about that. And the way you get speed is by organizing into smaller cross-functional teams. So it's not all the writers in one room, all the designers in another, all the programmers in another room, all the strategists in one room. And it's also not throw it over the wall to digital and then they'll figure it out. We're talking about teams that contain everything that they need to ship a final product or a final execution all in one place. So, what does cross-functional actually mean? Well, it means you don't need to beg another department to do something. A cross-functional team might be like this: a strategist who's focused on the bigger picture, a content creator or copywriter, a designer or video person, a data and analytics lead, and a project owner or facilitator. So that could be your 5. Together, that's a team that can actually plan, build, ship, and measure without having to wait for like 6 different departments or people to weigh in. It's really not about size. It's about allowing them to be self-sufficient. And those sort of teams can be really powerful. Smaller cross-functional teams don't just move faster, they actually can create better work. Why? Well, a few reasons. First, there's ownership. Everyone sees the whole picture, not just their slice of it. They understand what you're trying to accomplish. There's accountability. No one can hide in the org chart. No one can hide behind another staff member. Everyone has to hold their own. There's also creativity. Different skill sets sitting side by side means fresh opportunities for ideas. So when your writer and your designer and your analyst are solving the same problem together, instead of passing it on like a relay baton in a race, the output is actually much more relevant. And that doesn't just apply to in-house teams. You can break down silos even with your agency. So if you're working with an agency, you should treat them like an extension of your cross-functional team. Don't send a brief into a black hole and wait 3 weeks for a deliverable. Try to bring them into the room. Let them hear the customer insights. Let them see the data. Give them information. Again, we've talked about this before, but that agency partnership is critical. Like, they need to be part of the conversation. Let your agency account manager be in the loop on all things. Because Agile is really about integration, not outsourcing. Your agency shouldn't feel like part of the problem. They should be part of the team, and not just a vendor waiting for you to tell them what to do. Now, I know some of you are saying, that sounds awesome, but I don't really have the resources to do that. Okay. You don't need everyone in every project. You just need the right people, aligned tightly, and empowered to move. Think about it this way. Do you think that every person at our agency at Forum is involved in every creative decision? No. Frankly, there are projects that I, who oversee digital and brand strategy, don't even know about until they're done. Why? Because my skill set wasn't needed. I oversee brand, so brand strategy, brand projects, and digital. If someone has called and asked us to do a single brochure, I'm not involved. But when I am needed, and it's something where I may have helped build the brand structure, I'm entirely in the loop, because that's how it should be. Again, you want the right people in the room. Another pushback you might have. But silos are important because of specialists. And we need people that can specialize in different areas of marketing or our business. Sure, specialists do matter. We use them. But if they're locked in silos, they never get their expertise at the right time. Like, you never get their expertise at the right time. Cross-functional teams don't erase specialization, they deploy it. Your goal should be to have specialists. They can also be more agile, even in their skill sets, and work to make them cross-functional as well. So think about it this way. Just because you specialize in design doesn't mean you can't write. As I mentioned, my role is brand and digital strategy. So I lead projects with strategy, brand strategy, digital strategy, marketing plans, those sort of things. But I also know enough where if someone needs a video edited in Premiere, I can do that. Or someone needs a quick design project and I have free time in Photoshop, I could do that. I could also write social media posts. I mean, I am cross-functional. That's true for our other members at Forum too. We had our analysts record a radio spot for a client. Agility. So one more thing, you might think, but leadership won't give us control. Okay, well, if that's your culture, either as the client side or the agency side, you're not going to ever do Agile, period. Agile does not work in micromanaged organizations. Attempting it will fail. And if anything, you're going to have stand-ups while you're still doing waterfall. You're still going to be using Gantt charts to do your projects. And your results will show it. Now, we've spoken about this before, some projects call for waterfall. That's okay. Not all projects call for waterfall. So how do you actually do this thing called cross-functional teams? Like, how do you make it work? Well, you have to start with a clear goal. Each team should own an outcome. They shouldn't have a task list. They should have a goal. You need to make sure that you assemble different skill sets. You need to make sure that your team can create, ship, and measure without having to be dependent on someone else. They can finish the project. Whatever their goal is, they can meet it. Keep the size small, 5 to 9 people at max. That is an Agile tenet in any Agile organization, not just in marketing. 5 to 9 people to do Agile. Any Scrum Master will tell you that. Any bigger, you're just rebuilding your organizational chart. Give them autonomy. Do not micromanage them. Set the boundaries. Tell them where they can run and let them run. And then check in. Do sprint reviews, retrospectives to check after sprints are complete. Stand-up meetings. So a sprint, again, is a period of time. Like, you time box everything. So they have an outcome that has to be met in a certain number of weeks. That is a sprint. Once the sprint is complete, then you can look at it retrospectively to determine what happens in the next sprint. That's a retrospective or a retro. Stand-ups, those happen daily if managed correctly, and they should not last very long, but it's all about how each person is aiming at the goal and what progress they've made. That's how you keep alignment without drowning them in meetings. You have one meeting a day. That's it. And if there are other meetings, the team is not in them. The product owner or the product manager or the account manager that is on that team is the one that's in those meetings. You do all of those things right, you'll see productivity and creativity skyrocket in your organization. So let me give you a quick example. And again, Agile is a lot harder in agencies. It is possible, but it requires the right clients. And so the example I'm going to give you is more corporate based. So company A organizes their marketing department by what it is that individual or that team does. So we have strategy, we have a creative team, we have a digital team, we have an analytics team, maybe you have a traditional or PR team. Every project has to run through every one of those departments. What does that mean? Well, campaigns are going to take 3 months to launch. By then, you missed the boat. Okay, Company B organizes themselves in small cross-functional teams. Each team or pod has a strategist, a creative or designer, a digital lead, an analyst, and a product owner. Okay, so that could be the account manager or product marketer. They meet daily. They know what their goals are. They know what the time period is, the sprint is, and they have to deliver whatever their goal is every 2 weeks. Which company do you think is more relevant to the customer? Which company learns faster? Which of these companies do you think their audience actually notices? You know the answer. So let's take a second and put sneakers on this, right? So your challenge this week, as every week, I want you to pick a single project, campaign, or initiative that's currently spread across multiple silos. And I want you just to ask yourself, if we built a small cross-functional team to own this, who needs to be at that table? You need to identify the skill sets that are needed, shrink the team, right? No more than 9, and then as few as 5. Give them autonomy for just one sprint. Just give them 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks. Then watch what happens when you stop waiting and you start empowering people to focus on the goal. All right, so we are now so close. We have 4 more episodes before we've covered all the principles and tenets of Agile marketing. And we know by now that Agile marketing lives or dies on how your teams are structured. You can't be fast if you're fragmented and not communicating. You can't be creative if you're all locked in silos. And you can't be customer first if your teams don't have the autonomy to actually move. Small cross-functional teams aren't just efficient, they're powerful, they're human, and they deliver results. Next time, we're digging into the next Agile principle, one that I hope will push you to rethink how and who are on these teams and how you handle trust on your team. Until then, stay sharp, stay focused, stay agile. I'm Nick. This is Sneakers and Strategies, and I will catch you on the next episode.